Today wraps up Hanukkah, and today marks the first day of Kwanzaa, capping out the holiday season, right? But there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, well, holiday crowds, they are still flocking to Rockefeller Center to see the one and only tree, right? There may be room to roam next year, and that's because there's a proposal in place to turn the streets around Rockefeller Center into a pedestrian plaza, right? We were telling you about this about 20 minutes ago. So joining us this morning to discuss this plan and more, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine. So good to see you, Borough President. Thank you for being here. Happy holidays.
Good morning, guys. Happy holidays. Thanks for having me.
So before we talk about, I guess, the potential changes coming to the Rockefeller Center, I do want to focus on an issue right now that's getting a lot of attention, and that's the migrant situation that's playing out in real time, right? As we've been reporting, several busloads were expected to arrive in New York over the holiday weekend. They were instead rerouted to Vice President Kamala Harris's home in D.C. Any information on the status of those asylum seekers and what is really going to be happening moving forward in Manhattan?
Well, it's hard to think of an act of more brazen cruelty than dropping children off in record-freezing temperatures on Christmas Eve. This just shows the heartless policies of Governor Abbott. And also, one small thing which just proves that they do not care about the well-being of these human beings. They didn't inform either of the localities, New York or Washington, D.C., of their plan. They're not even attempting to allow us to coordinate to receive them.
But this isn't new, right? This isn't new. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's not new that they're not communicating this information. So how are you handling that, knowing what you know, and that it could come at any time?
Yes, well, we did have something of a pause after the election. It seems to be renewing now. We're expecting it could grow to as much as 1,000 arrivals a day just to New York City. This is going to be a challenge for us because our shelter system is basically at capacity. So we're going to have to take really emergency measures to contract with additional hotels, for example. We can do this, but we need federal assistance. We need financial assistance. We need really logistical coordination at the national level, something we haven't had. We need things like expedited work papers for the migrant families. Again, New York City can do this, and we will, and I'm proud of that. But we need federal help.
And of course, on the same topic, we have to talk about the recent migrant deaths, especially inside the shelters. Have you been able to touch base with the immigration commissioner, and what has he told you?
Well, this is just heartbreaking and a reminder that these are human beings. These are not political pawns. These are people who have suffered under terrible conditions in their home countries and a harrowing journey here. They've undergone enormous emotional trauma, and we really need to support them with a surge of social services, bilingual, Spanish-speaking social workers, and more. And we do have to do better. Really a heartbreaking tragedy. Now, too, we've lost by suicide in our shelter system. We can't let that happen again. We have to support these migrants. They're going to be a net positive for New York City. They want to work. They tell me that every time I speak to them. They're going to pay taxes. They're going to be really positive contributors to our economy, but we have to support them in the short term. They have enormous needs now: housing, food, education, and of course, social services as well.
All right, so keep us posted as we expect some of these buses to arrive. Let us know. I know we'll be in touch with you about that, but I do want to talk about some other topics. And, you know, obviously it's the holiday season. We talked about it at the top: Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all happening, right? Which could lead to a jump in what we've seen in previous years, which are a jump in COVID cases. We know flu and RSV are already on the rise. You know, the question is, when you look at Manhattan hospitals, how are they handling the surge in numbers?
Oh, they're really tight right now. They're getting unprecedented numbers of entrants into emergency rooms. Because of COVID, we're registering officially 4,000 cases a day because of what appears to be a really bad flu season. RSV may be on the decline. It seems to have peaked a few weeks ago, but it's still sending kids into the ER. I think most New Yorkers aren't paying attention to this, but those who work in hospitals, our healthcare workers, are well aware. They're under real strain. And there's a few things that we need to do as New Yorkers. Everyone has to get their COVID booster and has to get their flu shot. We are way behind on COVID boosters. Citywide, only 23% of New Yorkers 23% of age 65 and over have gotten their COVID boosters. For the general population, it's more like 12 or 13%. We're way behind on that. And anecdotally, it appears we're behind on flu shots as well. So if you want to do something to help our hospitals and to help you and your family and your community, get that double shot. Get your COVID booster and your flu shot today.
Yeah, and that's very important information. But how are the hospital beds? Are there enough? Do you anticipate they're possibly running out and then the patients have to be sent elsewhere?
No, I don't think we're that tight.
Okay.
Staffing is a bigger challenge than bed count because we have lost so many healthcare workers. They've been exhausted by the last 3 years. So staffing is tight. But when I speak to hospital leaders, I wouldn't say they are in crisis, but their resources are taxed.
Okay.
And we need to be sensitive to that.
You know, we've seen you talk a lot about affordable housing and the crisis that is just rampant across the 5 boroughs. But in Manhattan, I know you want New Yorkers to have a say in what developers can actually get away with. So how would that look?
Well, I think that our affordable housing crisis right now is worse than it's been ever in the history of the city. Rents right now for a market rate apartment in Manhattan are averaging more than $5,000 per month. So that means housing is out of reach, not just of low-income families, but of working-class families as well. It's a real threat to the future. We desperately need to create more affordable housing, especially, and we can do that. We have space to do that, but we're going to need policy changes. And it's really exciting to see now at really every level of government in New York, leaders are speaking out on this. We had a great plan from a city and state committee called the New New York, which called for dramatic measures to create more affordable housing. We've had really important policies from the mayor on streamlining the policies to create more affordable housing more quickly, more easily, and also from the city council speaker. So the next step is to find individual projects. If you poll people, in general, everyone wants more housing and more affordable housing. But when it comes down to individual projects, well, often there's a lot of objections. So that's what we have to get beyond.
It's so interesting to talk about rent because I always find, more affordable housing, we've always been talking about it, but someone's always going to pay that $5,000 rent. It's like that apartment, but someone's paying that money, and that's just wild.
Some families don't have a choice, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
The wealthy are always going to be well-housed.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The question is the rest of us.
Let me talk. We're almost out of time. I want to get your take on this Fifth Avenue proposal, right, to change the landscape of how things are going to be. It's controversial when you look at it, but I know you're in favor of it. What do you see the argument on both sides?
Well, there's actually 2 plans. Pedestrianizing Rockefeller Center, which is a great idea. It's been in place for the holiday season. It's been wonderful. Otherwise, people are just crowded off the sidewalks into traffic. But there's another plan, even more transformative, to change Fifth Avenue to be more pedestrian-focused. And we've had a trial run of this. I think you guys have seen it. 3 Sundays in December, all of the stretch of Fifth Avenue from, 47th Street to 59th Street have been fully turned over to pedestrians on these 3 Sundays. It's been wildly successful. Huge crowds, great energy, good business for the stores. This is also good economic development. Now, we're not talking about doing that permanently, completely pedestrianizing, but we're talking about a new vision for this marquee avenue, really a global icon that has more street seating, more street trees and greenery, more area for pedestrians, for buses, for bikes. Also, there still will be car traffic.
But only one lane.
It'll be a more balanced. Yes, but it'll be a more balanced way of designing the street that I think could be a wonderful, new, inviting public space. I'm excited about this. Long way to go. This is going to be a 2-year process to design it. There'll be lots of room for public input, but I'm excited that we've started this transformative effort.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want to ask you just to reflect on this past year. What would you say has been the best part of the year and the worst part of the year for the city?
This has been a rough year for New York City. We started out with a number of very high-profile deaths. Michelle Go pushed off a subway platform, 2 officers murdered in Harlem. But there's so many signs of our comeback in New York City. Hotels are 95% of capacity pre-pandemic. Broadway theaters are filling up. It's hard to get a reservation in many restaurants. We have many, many challenges ahead. We've been talking about some of them this morning, but the signs are everywhere that New York City is coming back, that we will come back. We've been counted out before again and again, but I think 2023, we're going to prove once again New York City is back.
There you go. Always good to talk to you, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine. We'll talk to you in the new year, okay?
Thanks to both of you. Happy New Year.